Hello and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I will be giving you the full tour of Kolkata International Book Fair 2025. The fair started from the 28th of January and will continue on to the 9th of February. And I actually thought that the fair starts from 11 a.m. every day, but that was not the case, which was basically why I'm sitting in my car unable to enter the fair because I was here simply too early. So, after wasting a good 10 minutes in my car, I decided to go over and look at the map just to familiarize myself with my surroundings before they finally let me enter. And when I did enter, everything was literally closed, and this was making me feel really awkward because I was here alone. Every year I go with my mother, who is like 90% of my impulse control and 100% of my emotional support, but being there alone was making me feel extremely awkward because everyone was building the stores, and this year navigation was a bit difficult even though I looked at the maps because it didn't have the halls where the English stores are usually present. This year, they decided to put all the English stores on two pavilions instead of halls. After walking around for a while, I decided to enter Bloomsbury because that was a store that looked remotely open. There was no construction going on in there. Even though they didn't even have the lights on while I was recording, you can literally see the lights turn on in the video. About Bloomsbury's collection, it was nothing special, but it also was not bad. They had a good amount of classic novels, children novels, and Bengali regional literature. One thing that did bother me about the book fair was that even though there exist many more modern children's novels, they seem pretty stuck upon Geronimo Stilton and Harry Potter instead of featuring more diverse authors or even more regional authors. But I guess that's a pretty much unavoidable problem. I decided to leave Bloomsbury and go to Woodpecker, which again, nothing special, average collection. But they did tell me that, yeah, the halls were not going to be built this year and we had to settle for the pavilions. As I previously mentioned, these pavilions are closest to gate number 3 and gate number 2. So if you're someone who is looking for the English books, which I do recommend checking out first because these pavilions tend to be very crowded, use those gates to enter into the fair and make sure that you come to the pavilions before the rest of the fair. Otherwise, it's going to be too crowded for you to explore it. Then I moved on to Hatchet, which was another store that was open, and look at how beautiful the store looks from the outside. It's made to look like a stack of books, and I think this was the most unique stalls in the whole fair in terms of decor. Inside, their collection was pretty standard. Again, I was pretty disappointed with the fantasy and sci fi collection. It was as if none of the stores put in any actual effort in curating their sci fi fantasy sections because all of the sections just tended to be the amalgamation of the same top 10 trending novels, which was pretty disappointing. Next, I decided to enter Pan Macmillan, which, in my opinion, was one of the most expensive stores in the entire fair. Really, the books were very good, the collection was amazing, but the cost made it difficult to get anything from that store. Next, I headed to Westland Novels, which had one of the best collections in my opinion because the novels were all translated into English from regional languages, and I feel like we Indians don't really read novels from our regional languages or even our own culture a lot because of our colonial mindset. So I personally was a big fan of the wonderful regional literature that was present at this store. Next, obviously, I had to go to the Penguin bookstore. Penguin is probably one of the most popular publishers worldwide, and their collection did not disappoint. Of course, they had the Penguin classics, the beautiful black, red, yellow, and white covers. But I also felt that for a store like Penguin, they could have done much better when it came to their classics collection. I would rate the Penguin store like a 3 out of 5 because obviously it's Penguin. You expect much more from it, but it was really disappointing to not see regional classics or even more obscure classics or international classics being platformed there at the store. After exiting Penguin, I felt a little lost and I couldn't really decide where to go or what to do. So I decided to head over to the pavilion number 1 and came across Nature, Environment and Wildlife Society, which is a wonderful initiative that aims at conserving wetlands in West Bengal. Go ahead and support them, especially on 2nd February, which is International Wetland Day, and they'll be hosting a special program on that day. Next, I went to Simon and Schuster, which is known for their extensive manga collection, but I do feel like they could have platformed their science fiction and fantasy section as well, which they did not do as much as they could have done. And I also feel like the only reason they have manga is because it sells well. But one thing that I did notice this year in comparison to last year or even the year before that is that manga was selling much less to other forms of literature, and even the stores which had a lot of manga for the past few years did not have as much. This, I think, is because of the craze around Japanese and Korean culture dying down a lot in 2024 to right now. And I think that is also a good sign because most of us can agree that the craze around Japanese and Korean culture was not because of racial allyship, but in India it was because of modern Orientalism and downright fetishization of East Asian men and women. After leaving Simon and Schuster, I decided to explore more and came across HarperCollins, this language learning bookstore, Ascent, and many more bookstores which focused on educational books, children books, and different kinds. And I think this year the stores were really good. One thing that I did notice was that independent bookstores tended to have better collections than known names and publishers. Stores like B Books or stores like Rupa Publishers, which I'll be showing you later on in this video, were much better than larger book houses like HarperCollins or Hachette or Pan Macmillan because, firstly, the smaller bookstores had more affordable books, they housed more regional literature, and they also had more diverse collections rather than focusing on the top 20 or top 10 book list. So if you're at the fair this year, make sure to check out the independent stores that I'll be showing you later on in this video instead of focusing on the popular and big name publishing houses. For HarperCollins, I think that instead of having more different kinds of novels, they really focused on special editions of the same novel, which again, disappointing but not unexpected. Their fiction store was good until I noticed Blood of Hercules for the first time. If you're unaware of my beef with the Blood of Hercules, it's literally the worst novel ever written. That book is like the textbook example of everything that is wrong with modern day publishing, with poorly written characters, no plot and only vibes, and literal tropes sewn together for it to sell well. Blood of Hercules is one of the worst pieces of literature that has ever graced this planet. Then I left that atrocity of a novel behind and entered into a new store, Oxford Bookstore, which is one of the largest independent bookstores that we have in Kolkata. And I saw one of my favorite novels, She Who Became the Sun, in there. So if you're willing to read an epic fantasy novel about a monk who literally sets aside her destiny to claim her brothers so that she can make history, then you should go for She Who Became the Sun. And you can get it for real cheap in comparison to online bookstores here at the book fair. Online and Amazon, I think it's like 2.5k, but here at the fair you'll get it at around 450 to 550 with around 10% discount at every single store that you enter. Next I headed to B Books, which had an amazing Bengali literature collection. The books were very great, and apart from Bengali literature they also had really good English literature as well. Here I'm trying to show you I Wish You All the Best by a non-binary author, which features a non-binary main character, and seeing such a book at the book fair really made my heart swell up with joy. So great collection for B books, and like I said, independent bookstore which has a permanent house at College Street, which is the largest book market in Asia, stationed here in Kolkata. So if you're ever in Kolkata or if you live here permanently and want to support independent bookstores not just at the book fair but all year around, head over to the College Street area and go straight to B books, which has a permanent home there. Next, I went to Starmark, which is unique in the way that it provided bargain deals where you could get a novel for just 100 or 99 rupees. Their fantasy section was much worse than what I was expecting. I actually entered Starmark because I was specifically looking for one novel, that is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, and I really hoped I would find it here, but I could not see it. After building up my courage, I finally went to the desk and just asked them straight up if they had it, and well, they did have it. So kudos to them for at least storing some good fantasy books in the back, even if they didn't have it on the shelf. And I finally ended up getting it, and obviously I'll show you all of the books that I got towards the end of this video, so make sure to watch till the end for the book haul apart from the book tour. After leaving Starmark, I decided to wander off towards a German pavilion. This year, Germany is the focal country or our theme country for the Kolkata Book Fair, and inside you can see different fun facts about Germany, about German literature. Few novels have been kept as exhibits, and there are always small programs with German authors going on in there. I was feeling really hungry and the heat was getting to me, so I decided to wander off towards the food courts. This year there are two food courts at the book fair: food court 1 towards gate 2, 3, 4 and 5, and food court number 2 towards the extreme corner. To get to the food courts, you have to walk across the international bookstores. Calling them bookstores really would be wrong because you can't actually buy anything from the stores, but you can look at the books and talk to the people at the exhibits and learn about the culture of the different nations that were attending. We had France, Germany, of course, Nepal, UK, USA, Argentina, Costa Rica, Peru, and many more countries. This year, for the first time, Bangladesh was not in attendance, which is really sad because we've had a Bangladesh stall for as long as the fair has been going on, which is 48 years, and to not have the country this year really feels like a big tragedy. I was having a pretty good time since I'd gone there so early. I did not really have to face the hustle and bustle of the crowd, and even the food court, like you can see here, was pretty much empty. I was like one of the only people there, apart from a few workers and a few more people. And I think most of the people there were just students like me who don't really have to go to school right now because we have our ISC or ICSC examinations coming up. I headed over to the Royal Indian Restaurant to try out their mutton gulati kebab roll, which is like one of my absolute favorites. Like, I like to joke that I go to the fair not for the books but for this roll, and I wanted to show you a little clip of myself eating because I felt demure and cutesy but also incredibly awkward because I was recording myself. Then I headed over to the stall featuring Peruvian literature, where I was greeted by the host at the stall, and he was an amazing gentleman who was so excited to talk about everything regarding Peruvian culture and even asked me to take a video of the store so people can get more interested or intrigued by the books there, and they can, check out more about Peru's culture. Walking away from the store, I was going into the Little Magazines corner, which is at the extreme end of the book fair near gate number 7. And I knew that on the way I would also come across some more independent bookstores, some more bookstores that featured educational books, college textbook, etc. If you're a Bengali horror fan, you should definitely check out Bibha Publications, which I showed to you previously, because it had a lot of great horror novels published and written entirely in Bengali, and they didn't really have any translations of those novels. So if you're learning the language or if you're fluent in it and don't really read in English, then go to the store because they had not only great horror but also books of different genres that you might want to check out. Walking away from the main square, you can get into the small lane near the auditorium where there's a mini food court of sorts. So if you need a quick snack, you can go there. Then you move on to the grand square where I think this is like the middle of the book fair. So if you enter through gate number 5, you will enter right in the smack dab of the book fair, like the heart of the book fair. And I think that is like the perfect place to start. From there onwards, you can just go to either of the ends which you would like to check out first, and then to the end that you don't want to check out first. And near this area, you have the sponsors of the book fair like PC Chandra Jewelers, Heritage Publishers, some newspapers, etc. Walking a little ahead from this area, I came across a stall by the National Digital Library of India, and I really wanted to enter, but it had become congested because the afternoon was approaching and more people were entering into the fair, so I couldn't really enter the very small store that they had set up. So I decided to walk onwards and came across the bookstores that I was looking for, Mansi Publishing House and Family Bookshop. These two are independent stores which tend to have one of the largest collections that I've seen in the entire book fair, and they're also my personal favorites because I go there every year. This year I think they were placed a bit farther than where they are usually placed. Like, I think if we divide the Bidhannagar Mala ground into 4 of these center stage kind of things, like the steps where you can sit, then they used to be at the third one near gate number 4 or 5, but this year they are near gate number 6 or 7, like in the middle of those two gates. So if you're someone like me who checks out these stores regularly, ensure that you have the right place and not the place where they used to be previously. Collection wise, I absolutely love these two stores because I think that they tend to find the perfect balance between having popular books but also enabling people to discover more obscure pieces of literature. Like, they literally have something for all age groups, from children to preteens to teens to adults and to the elderly. If you're a reader, you'll find something there. Then I saw this absolute beautiful stall and I was like, what is this place? It looks like a place right out of Shantiniketan. And I was pretty confused. Like, is this a stall? Is this a selfie zone? And then I realized that this is a stall for Joy Bangla, which is like a newspaper publishing house affiliated with the West Bengal government. So, nothing special, nothing interesting, but a pretty good place to just sit down and take a good photos of yourself or your friends. Leaving from there, I ventured deeper into the Little Magazines corner where I came across my favorite publishers that I discovered last year and couldn't wait to come back to, which is Rupa Publishers. This is one of the stall which features one of the best and most extensive collection of Indian books ever, from non-fiction to Indian classics to Indian fiction, anything and everything you can find right there in their store. And I was absolutely wowed by whatever they had, but I decided to check out something happening further down from the store first because I was a bit confused about my surroundings before deciding to enter the store, and I came across this Himalayan aviation tours thing which I thought was pretty funky and unique. Like, I did not check the store out, but I found myself wondering what kind of books that they could be selling, and I really wanted to check it out, but I was running short of time and I really needed to get back home because I was so dead tired. Inside Rupa Publications, their collection awesome. The average Indian reader would probably find like 10 different books there that they wanted to take home with themselves, because they really do have anything and everything that you can think of. And this always blows my mind because you don't see a Rupa publication store in big malls or even in places where people go and shop for books. You see them at the book fair, or you see them at College Street, or where their permanent location is. And to see them at the book fair means that you get to discover some of the best books that you can come across. Last year as well, I got classics from this store, and this year as well I decided to buy a book from here which is a Bengali classics. I'll show it to you later on in this video. Overall, this is a 5 out of 5 store. I don't think there can be a store better than this one. After stepping out of Rupa Publications, I decided to go over to the West Bengal Pavilion to see what was going on in there. Like the international stores, this one as well is a store that you cannot buy from, but you can definitely sit and read there. You can check out the different books that are present at the store. But I didn't find anything interesting, so I decided to leave and give you an overview of the smaller stores surrounding it. Overall, I think this year's book fair is amazing in terms of diversity of stores, diversity of authors, and much more affordable than the last few years. And I think the removal of the halls is also a pretty good decision. So before the 9th of February, which is the last day of the book fair, make sure to check it out because this is a once in a year event which you absolutely cannot afford to miss out. If you Obviously, before I end this video, I have to show you guys all the books that I did get from the fair. Otherwise, this video becomes a bit pointless, doesn't it? So let's start right from the beginning. The first book that I got before the fair was even really open was How to Gut a Fish. How to Gut a Fish is a collection of short story by Irish author Sheila Armstrong. I really like the synopsis of the book, but to be very honest, the cover is what caught my eye. The cover is designed to look like fish scales, and that really attracted me to the novel. I've never heard of this novel before, and I'm really proud of myself because I diverted off of the popular book list and my TBR, which is based on books that are trending right now, to go through every shelf and peruse books that catch my interest, that I'm genuinely interested in, rather than just going off of sales or trends and just picking the safest, most comfortable options. I feel like when we go out for comfort zone to choose books that will challenge the ideas that we hold dear, or will teach us more than what we know, or change our perspective on the world around us, is when we truly gain the satisfaction as a reader. And I feel like my collection of books from the book fair this year really capture all of those feelings that I am trying to evoke within myself. So this book has a collection of short stories that are called sensual, brilliant, and complex. They tend to challenge a lot of societal norms and idea. I don't know what I'm really expecting. Except for that, I think this is going to be a bit horror, a bit existential crisis. But overall, I hope this is going to be like a fun read. And currently, I am really enjoying short story collections more than novels, novellas, or anything long form, because I feel like short story collections really show you the range that an author has and allow you to play around with different kinds of ideas which are interconnected but still vary from each other in the form of one single book. The next one that I got is another short story collection, The Meat Market by Mashhur Alam. I'm really sorry if I butchered the name. So Mashhur Alam is a very popular Bangladeshi author, and this book has been translated from Bangla into English. I did look for the original Bengali novel. I did not find it. I got this from Westland Books. To be very honest, it was obviously the cover that interested me, but also some of the stories sound very interesting because they are centered around trivial day-to-day activities like going to the butcher's shop to buy goat for an Eid celebration but getting stuck up in a problem which seems much larger, and then again about a woman who can no longer lactate in order to feed her newborn baby, but has a creative method of solving her baby's hunger. And all of these stories really captured my attention, and I cannot wait to see how this book turns out. Next is a book that I'm probably the most excited to read. I was actually really surprised that I even found Boulder at the book fair, because we usually do not get books like this at the fair a lot. So Boulder is about this cook working on a lion ship who falls in love with a woman named Samsa, who nicknames her as Boulder. Samsa and Boulder move to Iceland, where Samsa gets a job and promptly declares that she would like to be a mother, irrespective of whether her partner also wants to embrace motherhood. I feel like this book will be a good exploration of queer alienation and loneliness, also the diverse feelings that queer women have towards motherhood. I really don't want this to disappoint me, because I know a lot of people whose reviews I personally enjoy reading have had excellent opinions of this book. I probably will end up reading this before January is over, and so stay tuned for my review on this. Next is another book that I really want to read, Lajja by Taslima Nasreen. Taslima Nasreen is a Bangladeshi author again. Her book was banned in West Bengal and in Bangladesh over religious issues, and this is based in 1992 after the Babri Masjid was demolished in India and a series of anti-Hindu riots broke out in Bangladesh. This is a book that explores misogyny, especially religion-fueled misogyny. It's obviously a very controversial piece of literature, because after its publication, Taslima Nasreen had a series of fatwas issued against her, which are basically death warrants or warrants calling for her death. But I am excited to see everything that this modern classic has to offer. And obviously I'll give you my own opinion on it. But I do believe that religion should never ever hinder artists from expressing their views on whatever subject matter that they do wish to express themselves upon. Next is Didi by Nirupama Devi, again another Bengali novel translated into English. I got this primarily because it reminded me of Chokher Valley by Rabindranath Tagore. The story of this sounds pretty similar to that, but obviously I'm going to judge this novel for what it is instead of comparing it to the novels that were written before it. But this is about a young woman who does not get along with her husband at all. She is independent, free-spirited, and likes to stay on her own. And to avoid her, her husband marries a younger woman. This younger woman is completely infatuated with her older sister wife, whom she endearingly refers to as Didi, or older sister. Really excited to read this. I feel like all of the books that I did get are very different from what I usually read, and which is why I'm ever the more excited to really dig into them and experience literature from a different point of view, out of my comfort zone, and really from a different side of it than I usually do. Finally, the last novel is the one that I literally scoured the entire fair to get, was Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I'm going to be very honest with you, I just want to read Robin Hobb's books because of one character, and that is the Fool. I don't know anything about that character except I saw this one fan art and I fell absolutely in love with it. I was like, I have to read this series. And it's a 16 book long series, so I'm not sure if I'm going to go through with all of the books, but if this makes a really good impression, even though I have no idea what it is about, I am going to read all of those 16 books. I am a person who read all of Cassandra Clare's books, and obviously in comparison to Cassandra Clare, Robin Hobb is going to be a masterpiece. So if I like this, trust me, within this year, we will have completed the entire realm of the Elderlings series. Last but not the least, I got this really cool pocketbook about snakes found in West Bengal from a group of people who run an NGO based on conservation. I showed the stall to you, so I really hope that if you do go to the fair, that you will consider checking them out and supporting them. But this opens out and it's really cool, because when you open it out, it's like a huge pamphlet of all the different snakes you can find in the state, their conservation status, where they are found, their length, if they are venomous or not. Really cool guide to have when you're here. Finally, this little keychain which has a lobster on it. I'm pretty sure it's a lobster. If it's not, feel free to correct me. Also from the conservation center, because when I was there, everything looked so good. I literally wanted to get like 5 different keychains, all of the pocketbooks like snakes and butterflies, but I had to control myself and I settled for this lobster keychain. So if you enjoyed this video, my little book haul, my tour of the book fair, then please consider liking, sharing and subscribing, because I make a lot of videos about books, book reviews, book hauls and the current trends in the book community. And if all of that sounds appealing to you, make sure to like, share and subscribe. Bye bye.